it's an action RPG, and we're going to show off one of the stages that we're showing here at E3 today. We got some new weapons that have been added since the alpha demo that we did before.
Very cool. I'm excited to see that. I couldn't believe how big the demo was too. Like it was.
Yeah, we got a lot of really good feedback from the demo. People really seemed to like it. It seemed like a good length. Let people, it gave them enough to get used to the combat system and get good with it.
Sure.
And leave them wanting more.
That's definitely something you'll have to do with NiOh is get good, because this game will give you a good challenge. I do believe it certainly gave me a challenge.
So one of the kinds of feedback that we got. So real quick, what you're seeing here, if you played the alpha demo, if you played the second stage, this is the end of that stage, and we'll be going a little bit further from there.
Very cool. I can't wait to see the director play the game, because I felt like I was playing it wrong the whole time, just because I kind of suck. But
he could very well die as well.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm looking for.
A little comforting.
Yeah, exactly.
Love the armor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, they've really put a lot into the atmosphere of the game. It's set in Japan, but we want to give it this really dark, gritty feel. Not all of it is like that. We have some other areas, they're a little brighter. But they've really put a lot of effort into the atmosphere and getting that sort of like feudal samurai feel with sort of this dark fantasy element.
Yeah, it works very well, and I love how you mix that with the like you said, the sort of mythological Japanese creatures.
Right. So you see the little green guy on top of the shrine that he just prayed at. Those guys you can actually find them scattered throughout levels. You lead them back to the shrine, and they can help you out later.
Right.
And a lot of the creatures that you will fight and that you will that will help you are also taken like directly from Japanese folklore.
Yeah.
So it's a different feel. It's not goblins and orcs, but it still has that sort of fantasy feel, with being like exotic.
I think that's what's so refreshing about it is the look of the game is very gritty and realistic. Like everything looks very tangible, but it's also like you said, the Japanese mythological setting, which is something you really don't see that often. So to see the demons like right there,
right.
Like there's more like a zombie, it's just very refreshing that way. Can you talk a little bit about, if you look in the UI, the bottom right corner?
Sure. So what you're seeing in the bottom right is the stance, menu, the stance UI. And in NiOh, you have a high stance, a mid stance, and a low stance, depending on how you want to fight. And each of those will sort of have its own move list.
Right.
And certain skills you can do only from a high stance or only from a low stance.
Right.
And so a high stance is generally more for more aggressive style of play.
Sure.
They do a lot of damage. Low stance is maybe for a more defensive style of play. It's a little bit quicker. You can keep your ki, it's kind of like your stamina,
right,
up. So you can really...
I did not see that coming. Oh,
surprise! And that's what I found. The combat system was incredibly deep that way because you can switch stances mid-combat.
Right, and even doing that sometimes, it'll give you a bonus if you do it right. So the combat is supposed to be coming from Team Ninja, right? It's got to feel good. It's we made Ninja Gaiden. It's got to feel like good combat, but it's a different kind of combat than a Ninja Gaiden game. It's very deliberate.
Yeah.
And we really were trying to do justice to the samurai side of things.
Sure.
And it really is, when you look at samurai films and you read like what samurais were actually talking about, back when they were really samurais, the kind of deliberate strategic thing that you would do, if you're faced with a guy who's holding a sword up high, what do? Do you go low? Do you go mid?
Oh man,
so
that hurt.
That kind of mind game is something that we are really focusing on for NiOh. The use of your stamina, your ki.
Sure.
And the stances.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. Like with the more deliberate approach to the combat, it's kind of like a dance. It's like
right.
Like they strike, you counter strike.
Right,
and,
right.
Yeah, it works brilliantly. I mean, just having played the demo, I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is definitely a title that I will absolutely be playing on my stream.
So what you just see here now, you can see the sword has some lightning on it. So there are some fantasy aspects to this as well. And in NiOh, there's Onmyo magic, and that's sort of a traditional sort of magic style of things, and you can use that to enhance your weapon, add elemental attributes, things like that.
Yeah, depending on enemies, I'm sure some are weak to
Exactly.
a certain type
some
of
are weak to water, some are weak to fire, those kind of things. So here we have another one of those shrines, and you can save at these points. They'll heal you up, and then this is also where you can level up your stats. You can open up skills to so enhance your moveset, your skill set.
Yeah, you will learn to rejoice. You will be praising the gods when you see one of those shrines. You're like, oh, thank you, because that is definitely a huge part of the progression of the game.
So when you die, you respawn basically from the last shrine that you saved at.
Exactly.
So if you didn't get to that middle shrine, then
you're going all the way back.
All the way back.
Oh, do you lose everything that you got after that shrine?
So yeah, if you die, you'll have a grave at the point where you died.
Right.
And when you respawn, if you make it back to that point, you'll see your guardian spirit and your stuff in a little pile there. You can touch it and you can get all of that back.
Gotcha.
But if you die again before you do that,
That's on that Omeo.
So that's the living weapon. He just triggered a living weapon, and you'll see in the upper left that the gauge in the upper left is sort of changed. So you have this companion spirit, and there are different kinds of companion spirits, and the one that he used just now, the ox, is like a really strong, just physically strong, physically powerful spirit.
Because I remember there was kind of there was air elemental or fire elemental types.
So you had and there was like the wolf,
right?
Was a certain, and then the bird that was more like air. So.
Right. One thing I love about this game as well is that it's not like you're not mowing through armies of really weak enemies to get to a boss that gives you a challenge. Like every single enemy you fight could possibly kill you because, as you can see, they're huge and they do a lot of damage.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing. We want to make this a challenge. We want to make every battle feel tough, but make you. I mean, that's what brings the sense of achievement, the sense of satisfaction.
Exactly.
And if you feel like a badass for every fight, you feel like you earned that fight, that win, then it's just a great feeling.
Oh wow! Just
the director died.
Man called it.
See,
life's always in danger.
Exactly. It's not that I just suck that bad. It's,
the creator of the game died as well.
Still dying. Oh man.
Let's get that grave back.
Yeah.
So you saw he just responded to the shrine, so he's got to go back. In the upper left, the gauge, there's no animal in the upper left screen, so he's got to go back and sort of recollect his guardian spirit from that spot.
Right.
And he drops sort of the Amrita, which is kind of like experience. It's a sort of a special substance in the game.
Yeah.
And so now he can go back and collect all of that.
I like how it's waiting for you. It's like waiting for the master to return.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah. And so, is there anything, if you die before you reach that point, is there anything you lose there?
You lose your stuff. You'll get the guardian spirit will come back with you, but you lose your stuff in the experience.
Gotcha. Yep. Oh boy, and let's see if we can pull it out this time, because these demons are no joke. Like they're seriously like mini bosses, in the level. But then again, like we just said, it's like every enemy pretty much, is a challenge. I am loving the look of this area, like with all the stone, almost like kata warrior.
Right.
I love. It's so refreshing though, seeing like the Japanese take on it.
Yeah. So what you notice, he just did something that if you might have noticed with the demon that was walking around, there's sort of a black and white area that would sort of like form around him,
like a nega zone or something.
Right. Right. And so when you're within that, your key will sort of slowly drain. And if you time a key pulse right within that area, you can like dispel it.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it'll help you. And key pulses are key. I think a lot of people in the alpha demo figured out. You need to figure out how to use the key pulse.
Yeah.
And you'll see that if you watch the stamina or you see just him, you'll see sort of a blue light gather around him after he does some moves. And that's sort of showing you when you can trigger the key pulse. If you press it at the right time, you regain stamina more quickly. You gain like a chunk of stamina instantly.
Yeah, and I picked up on that too late in my playthrough of the demo because I remember one of the I think the first boss on the ship was definitely I think a big part of that fight was using the regaining the key that way. The key strike.
One of the things that we just saw here was him using a trap that's in in the stage to actually defeat an enemy.
Yeah.
So he was being, pursued by an enemy in the back. He just sort of stood on the trigger panel, but let the thing that would normally kill him, the arrows went by him and killed the enemy behind him. So you can use the stage as well, sort of strategically.
I love it. I love how you just, applied some fire to the sword.
Yeah.
Just to take up this guy.
Nice.
There he goes. And yeah, and what I also love is the loot drop system. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So enemies are going to give you all kinds of stuff. A lot of armor, a lot of weapons. There's several different kinds of weapons, and then variations of those weapons within like certain categories, and even within the armors as well. So you have breastplates, but you'll have different levels of breastplates. Warrior breastplates, brawler breastplates, and then even within that,